What's going on, world? It's your boy Jason here with another installment of What Will It Take. Today we're going into the pro-life argument. So a little controversial, but when is it not? So let's just dive right in. Most people, when they think of pro-life, they automatically go to one singular notion of it, which is anti-abortion. And I just wanted to introduce sort of the common sense notion that that is only one facet of being pro-life. Being that, what about after the baby is born? What about, throughout the man-woman's life? Is pro-life just at that point, at birth? Or is pro-life something that is means that you are against the death penalty or things of that nature? So I feel like if you're pro-life, you should be pro-life at all stages and not just at a nuanced specific moment when you really mean that you're anti-abortion. So I almost feel like most of the people that are pro-life are not pro-life. They are just anti-abortion. But the framing of the issue, of course, if you just said you're anti-abortion as opposed to being pro-life, just that framing of it would probably result in less people voting for it. So it's really just, word manipulation, just like normal. But I just want to pose the notion that for all of those that claim to be pro-life and not just anti-abortion, that you actually do it. Pro-life, there are stages all throughout the thing. And I feel that a lot of people that are pro-life / anti-abortion are really having policies that punish the mother. You recognize that she's in conditions that may be unfavorable for her to be pregnant, and the pregnancy may not be planned. You recognize that, but don't do or recognize or do anything into the situations that might cause a mother to have an unplanned pregnancy. It's just automatically her fault, and she should have known better. While most of the people that support pro-life are also those people that are cutting contraception, they're cutting early sex education, they're cutting general education, they're cutting after-school programs and extracurricular activities, so kids might have something to do other than go and have sex. So it's just, to say that it's all this young girl's fault, you sure enough are cutting off a lot of the resources that would prohibit her from, in terms of the pro-life thing, making the right decision, or, at least waiting a little bit. So it has to come from the front end. Additionally, of course, we don't have to say anything about abortion. Personally, for myself, I am pro-life, but I am anti-abortion for myself. But I am pro-choice if I must label it for the world. I don't believe that my preference that is guided by my faith should be the prerequisite for others. I do believe in the separation of church and state, and my belief in anti-abortion is guided by my faith. Thus, it's not right to force someone else to do it. And, if it is a matter of faith, then they have to meet their maker, and eventually they'll have to answer for that sin if it's something that happens. I just don't believe that we, as the people on earth, deserve to be the judge and the jury for that. God does that. We're not, it's not our place. But, before I digress too far on that one, we have the before the child is born, and then we have it like during the child is born, where we certainly don't even want to give abortions. Even some people, not even in cases when the mother's life is in jeopardy. It may be against the doctor's will to even do it. Some people are even fighting for that. But, I'll leave that alone. But more importantly, what about after the child is born? We can all say all this prevention and everything like that, but, one thing you're not going to stop people from doing is having sex. So what are we going to do after the child is born? So does this pro-life stop when the child comes out? Or are we actually going to support that child? Are we going to give them health care? Are we going to give them education? Are we going to have opportunities for the mother to potentially move out of poverty so she can help her child, to help with childcare and assistance? But sadly, most of the people that are pro-life are also anti-support the mother. Those policies, go back to let's punish the mother for her decision. Yay, let's applaud her for having the baby against her will. But shame on you. You should have really thought about that before you got pregnant. Oh, and, you might as well go for the father that's more than likely not around. And it's just kind of like shaming women. You compound that with issues like a couple weeks ago in the news where Mike Huckabee was talking about women are more than libidos and they don't need an Uncle Sugar to control their sex drive, like sort of into, debating about contraception, saying that women don't need it or they have enough self-control and that they shouldn't be motivated by such. So it just creates, it's like an atmosphere of coming from where women are kind of like shaming themselves, and it's leaving the man out of it in a lot of instances in terms of the responsibility. Because, I mean, if the man was sort of mandated to be responsible, a lot of those issues between raising a child might not be there, at least financially speaking. But we have to support the child once it leaves. And we all know all the statistics of how, having a healthy conditions and prenatal care and all of these things help even like pre-K and things of that nature, they all help in the long run for all of us in terms of making more successful citizens and children. But yet again, the people that are mostly pro-life are usually the advocates for cutting all of these resources off, to this population, and once again going into the blame game. So I just really ask you, if you are somebody that is pro-life, what does that actually mean to you? Does pro-life really just mean I'm against abortion? Or are we actually going to promote scenarios in which young girls will be able to be educated and informed enough to make the decisions that you might want them to make? And if something should happen, regardless of that education, shouldn't you empower them so that they'll be able to make the best of that situation so that child doesn't have to suffer, instead of having policies that basically are punishment for the mother and retroactively condemning her from having sex, and then just really condemning the child who's really the most innocent person. I mean, I know no one would suggest that let's just take the child away from the mother. No one would suggest that. So why would we, do that? Why don't we just give things to empower the mother to actually raise her child well so she doesn't have to work, 72 hours a week just so she can make ends meet, and for us to just say, well, hey, she had a baby early, so that's what she deserves, and if she had thought about it. But what about the child? What about the cycle? I mean, what does pro-life actually mean? I mean, if you do believe that that's her fault and that's her responsibility and she dug her own grave, then you cannot call yourself a pro-life person. You cannot, because you're not pro-life. You don't care about that life. Pro-life means you actually have to care about life, not just one particular stage of it for religious preference. Until next time, it's your boy Jason.